Alright, hey guys, and welcome to the first episode of Games I Played Recently. No, don't get this confused with a Games I Bought Recently episode. This is something totally different. And I really don't know why it took me this long to make these style of videos. I think because I didn't want them to get jumbled up with the Games I Bought Recently videos, but I think I have found a format that will work. So let me explain what Games I Played Recently is and why it's different from Games I Bought Recently. So, for the 4 years I've been on YouTube, I've only done Games I Bought Recently episodes, which at the time I'd show you guys my most recent pickups, and if I had played any of those games by the time I made that video, I would of course give my impression on the games that I had played. But what you guys never got to see was that after I made the video, many times I would go and revisit those games at a later date or right after I made the video, play them, and I never really was able to give you my impressions on those games unless I made a review, which obviously is not possible for every single game I play. The only way that you would have known most of these games that I was playing and my impressions on them is if you listen to my podcast. And obviously I know that a lot of people can't listen to a 2+ hour podcast every week to find out the games I'm playing. And these days I don't always mention every game that I'm playing because sometimes I play a lot, sometimes I play a little. Some games I don't discuss too much because, well, they're really quirky and not many people, or at least my podcast hosts, they're falling asleep as I'm talking about some of these games. So I completely understand. So I figured I would make Games I Played Recently to let you guys know when I go back and revisit games that are in my collection that I might have bought many years ago. Maybe I talked about a game in a Games I Bought Recently video, and then, let's say I made 20 hours progress into that game, and I want to give you guys an update. So this will be sort of my gaming diary for you guys as to what I'm playing. Games I bought recently will still exist without a doubt. I'll keep you guys informed on the games I pick up, and I will still talk about, my recent pickups and give impressions in those videos. But this here will serve sort of as a more up-to-date video to let you guys know what I'm playing, because I was getting tired of this. People were characterizing me on YouTube as just the guy that just buys games, and I don't play any of the games I buy, which is totally not true. Anybody that listens to the AllGenGamers podcast knows that I play a lot of games. So, enough babbling. I just wanted to get that out there and explain exactly what this video is and why it differentiates itself from games I bought recently. They will coexist together. And yeah, what do you say we get started? So, as a good example here, one game that I showed off in one of my videos from last year when I went to Seattle for PAX Prime, I picked up a game, Shining Force, the Resurrection of the Dark Dragon. And at the time, I obviously had not played it yet. And I wanted to give you guys an update because I did play this game. And just letting you know, this is not everything I've played. This is just some games from like way back in my back catalog that I played and I want to let you guys know about. More recent videos, when I do more of these videos in the future, the games that I talk about will only be games that I've very recently played within, the past, ever since the last episode. So, this one has been a couple of months since I've played it, but I wanted to let you guys know about this. This is a phenomenal game. What this is, it's a remake of the first Shining Force game, but it's redone with new graphics, more characters, just more content to it. And I was quite deep into this game when I first started playing it. And I didn't finish it, but I did get a good 12 or 15 hours into this game. And fans of strategy RPGs, this is definitely a game that you want to check out. It's really not that expensive. You could probably get a complete copy, no problem, for $25, $30. This is one amazing shooter for the Game Boy Advance, and that is Iridion 2. Now, Iridion 3D is a great shooter. However, it was more of a behind-view shooter. This one is a vertical scrolling game, but what really differentiates this from other shooters is the graphics. The graphics in this are unlike anything I've seen. I'd argue that this is possibly the best looking Game Boy Advance game I've ever seen. I know it's a bold statement, but I stand by that because when you actually watch video of this and you see the pre-rendered enemies and the background environments, it gives this great sense of depth and like an isometric view. It's amazing. The gameplay definitely complements it well. There's all different bullets that you can use and shot patterns, and the music is kick-ass. So definitely check out Iridion 2. Not an expensive game by any means. For the PlayStation 1, I have done 2 playthroughs of Strider 2, and I have to say this game has blown me away. One of my favorite visual styles of video games is 2D sprites on top of 3D backgrounds, and this game totally does that justice. I would say that this is probably the best looking game that I've seen so far that uses that graphical engine. It's a very short game. You can probably beat it within an hour to an hour and a half. But the graphics are very flashy. It's very fast-paced. The levels go by at breakneck speed. Some levels only last half a minute. Some of them last 2 minutes. There's a lot of boss battles. If you're the kind of person that likes time attack and score attack games, and you like really fast action, definitely give Strider 2 a look. For the Dreamcast, one game that I actually was going to do a review on, but it kind of underwhelmed me, so I didn't really want to waste my time reviewing this game. It wasn't terrible, but it has a lot of aspects that weren't good to it, and that's MagForce Racing. This game, the best way to describe it is F-Zero, but with really wonky controls. So this is one of those futuristic type racing games, really fast, really tight turns. The controls are really loose. There's sort of a mechanic where you have to run over the charge pads, and it's not that good. If you can get this game for under $5, give it a try, but anything more than that, you might be disappointed. I started a new file in Dual Hearts for the PlayStation 2, and this is a little-known game that was published by Atlas exclusively for the PlayStation 2. And many people compare this game to Zelda, which I really don't see the comparison beyond the point that it's a third-person action game, and there are dungeons with some puzzles, but really it's very loosely related to Zelda. It's an enjoyable game. This is the second time I've started a file on it. I can never seem to complete this game. I just always lose interest. But this last time I made a decent chunk of the way through into the game. And you play as this kid, and he has this little, dog thing with him, and the dog has really funny writing. The story's kind of cute. The action is okay. The camera does a fairly good job. It doesn't really do anything extremely well. It does everything good. The worlds are actually really strange and odd and unique in many places, and it kind of takes you by surprise because you expect it to be just your typical dungeons with wooded areas and water areas, but there's some really trippy areas in this game, and it's definitely not a common game. It might be a little tough to find, but it's worth checking out. Mad Maestro on the PS2. This is one of the games that I had a review totally done for before my hard drive crashed, so I'll give you a little brief rundown. I, of course, have played this game many times in the past, but I wanted to share with you guys my sort of impressions on this weird, quirky music game. It's a tough game if you play on the normal setting. It's really brutal, and all you do in this game is you just press the button in time with the beat of the song. So you play as a conductor, and you play all these classical songs, and there's just a note that goes around most of the time in a diamond shape, and you just have to tap the button as it goes over the different notes. There's no complex, beat patterns to it. You just press on a button. Really simple, pretty easy. But if you hate classical music, you're going to hate this game. But if you like sort of the funny backgrounds and characters that go on with the songs, if you're a fan of games like Guitar Man, Elite Beat Agents, definitely check out Mad Maestro. For the import PlayStation 2, I played some Gigawing Generations, and this game here is a really crazy bullet hell shooter released exclusively for the Japanese PS2. This is considered to be the third game in the Gigawing series, and this is one of the craziest bullet hell shooters I've ever played. I played through it multiple times, and it's definitely a lot of fun, very challenging. Now, it has been a very long time since I've played this, but I wanted to give you guys my update on this since I did do an unboxing video for it, and I never followed up. That's Star Odyssey, and I'm pretty sure I never followed up with this, but anyway, this game is a reproduction or a relocalization of a game called Blue Almanac that only came out for the Mega Drive in Japan. And it was localized by the Super Fighter team, which definitely big thumbs up to them for bringing this game out here. But I have to say, this game has a lot of balancing issues. The enemies level with you, so just like Skyrim and Oblivion, as you're going along in the game, as you level up, so do the enemies. So it kind of defeats the purpose of leveling up, because you'll enter a new area and you'll just get totally wrecked by the enemies. And there's points in the game where it gets completely broken. So yeah, I'd say this is definitely more for collector's purposes than for gameplay purposes, but it's an interesting RPG nevertheless. Okay, for the Sega Genesis, one day I got into a really big shooter kick, and I popped in a couple of shooters that I had never played before, or I really enjoyed playing, so I decided to play some more. One of them was Phelios. I had not played this. I picked this up last year at Seattle. And this is a really fun shoot-'em-up, vertical scrolling that's sort of themed around Greek mythology. So you're fighting things like Medusa and Apollo is the character that you play as. You fight like Greek gods and dragons and monsters. It's actually a lot of fun. It's very challenging and definitely worth a look. It's not that expensive either. One of those other shooters that I played on that time when I was really into some shooters was Lightning Force, also known as Thunder Force 4. And this game is amazing. If you have never played a shooter before, this is an excellent one to start with on the Genesis. The sprite work is just amazing. The boss designs, they're breathtaking. The scrolling backgrounds. You know, one of the levels you're in the middle of a firefight of alien spaceships in the middle of outer space. And you have to dodge their fire at one another. The music is good, of course, in a shoot 'em up. The controls are good. This game just defines everything that's good about a 16-bit shooter. So definitely, if you are into shooters, definitely check out Lightning Force. An old classic of mine, one of my personal favorites on the system, Wings of War, also known as Gainaog, I think is the way you pronounce it. That's how it's pronounced in Europe, at least, in Japan. But this is a really fun, dark shooter. I mean, I love the enemy designs in this game. They really creepy. It's very atmospheric, and once again, very challenging. And a very cheap game, too, so you can definitely pick that up for a good price. And lastly, I played a lot of Lords of Thunder. This is one of my personal favorite shooters now. I play this game quite regularly, you know, once every month or two now. What a kick. The soundtrack in this just kicks all kinds of ass. It's a heavy metal soundtrack. It totally goes with the theme of this game, where you play as like this Viking god and you take down these huge, humongous bosses in all these levels that are themed after like fire, water, you know, earth, wind. And it has a shop, so between levels you can buy upgrades, you can buy items, you can buy all kinds of stuff. So it has a little RPG element in there, which is really nice. But just overall, this is, oh my god, this game's amazing. It's also on the PC Engine CD, but that version is a bit more expensive than the Sega CD version, I think. Could be wrong, maybe they're around the same price, but this is one hell of a shooter, and I highly recommend it. And lastly, guys, I have been playing a couple of games on the PC, which I'm quickly going to run through here. One of which, I played a lot of Team Fortress 2. I don't know if you guys knew that, but I suddenly got into Team Fortress 2, and this was a while back, but you guys, I don't even think I mentioned it on here. I put in about 150 hours into the game, and I was quite addicted. It's one of those games that I can just go back and keep revisiting, so definitely I go back to that once in a while. A game on Steam, Legend of Grimrock, which is a first-person dungeon crawl game in similar style of the Might and Magic games, Eye of the Beholder, Dungeon Master. Believe it or not, I was never really introduced to those kind of RPGs back in the day, so this was sort of my introduction to the series, and what an introduction it was. This game is amazing. If you're into sort of the first-person dungeon crawl games, but don't think Etchery and Odyssey, not that kind of stuff. It's more of puzzle-based, and it's real-time at the same time, so every time you move a tile, the enemies don't take turns moving tiles, they're always moving. So you always got to be on your toes. Despite being real-time, it's still tile-based, so you have to sort of dance your way around the tiles to hit your enemies. A lot of puzzles, really inventive. What an amazing game. Definitely, for fans of PC RPGs, check out Legend of Grimrock. Dear Esther is another game I played on Steam. It's one of those artsy games, so you kind of got to know what you're getting into here. Don't expect to play Dear Esther and play a video game. It is more of an art project, but a really good one. It takes about an hour and a half to beat. Do not go into this expecting to be fighting bosses and enemies and having any kind of life gauge. And it's more of an experience where all you know is you start on an island, you don't know how you got there, and you just start wandering around, and there's a narrator that voices the narration of the game to you. So the whole time you're playing this game, you're getting pieces of dialogue. But the really interesting thing is that every time that someone plays through, you get different bits of dialogue. So the first time you play through this game, you might only get 10 lines of dialogue. And then the next time you play, you might get 30 lines of dialogue, some of which might be the same, some might be different. So by the time you get to the end of the game, you have a different story that's unraveled than someone else. And it's a really interesting story. If I say anything, it'll spoil it. It's the kind of game, though, where after I was done playing, I went right on the Wikipedia and looked up theories as to what this game was about. It's a very beautiful, pretty-looking game, and I highly recommend it. It was recently on sale on Steam for only $2.50, so I think it's up to like $5 or $10 now. I also downloaded a game that just captivated me. I had no idea this game existed until about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and that's called Days. D-A-Y-Z. It's a mod off of Arma 2, which is a World War simulation game, or, you know, a war simulator. And it's a mod where it introduces zombies into that game, but it's an open world online game where you play in like 200 square miles of open world, and you start off in a random place on the map, and you have to fend off the zombies that are all over the world. But don't think of it as Left 4 Dead. It's more of a survival zombie game. So you don't want to be engaging these zombies if you don't have to. So you're sort of like slowly creeping around and finding ammunition, finding weapons. You know, you die really easily. You start the game with nothing. But the really interesting thing is, since it's online, there's other characters playing in the server. So there's like up to 50 people, I think, or 200 people in a server. I think it might be the max. 50 at the time, though, I think. And you might run into somebody else, and they might decide to kill you and take all your gear, and you might lose a character that you've invested 20 plus, 50 plus hours into. Or you might find another person, and they might team up with you, and you try and band together and, you know, fight off other groups of people that are like rogue bandits that'll kill you and take all your stuff. I mean, it's quite amazing. This game is unlike anything I've seen before. I've only played it a little bit because it has a very high learning curve, but I have to say this is a game that has intrigued me greatly. It's still in alpha, so keep that in mind, so it's very buggy. I also played a little bit of Binding of Isaac, which it took me a while to get that game, but I'm glad I did. It's a third-person shooter game similar to a roguelike. It's from the creators of Super Meat Boy, so I'm definitely really enjoying it because I enjoyed Super Meat Boy, so liking that. One of the best little hidden gems I've found on Steam. It's called Botanicula. And I believe this is by the creators of Machinarium, another weird name. Machinarium, which is another point-and-click adventure game on the PC, which I own and really enjoy. Botanicula, though, has a theme where it's a point-and-click adventure where you play as a little band of 5 friends in the forest. One is like a seed, one is a leaf, one is like a mushroom. Really cute little characters, and you play in a forest that's really beautifully rendered and drawn, and it's a really nicely realized world. It really it resembles to me like a blend between Limbo and Machinarium and like your favorite cute little game. And essentially the forest is getting taken over by these spiders, and the spiders are draining their forest of all the life that's out there, and the one seed that can save their forest, they've lost it and they have to go back and try and recover it. So it's a really cute game. Definitely check it out if you have Steam. Also, Recettear and Item Shop's Tale. This is a game on Steam that it's a really cute game where you actually play as an item shop owner in an RPG. So think Torneko from Dragon Quest, where that one time in Dragon Quest IV where you get to sort of man the item shop as Torneko. Think of that, but only as a full game. Where you play as Recettear. She's a girl that has to pay back her debts of her father who left her home to this fairy. And to do that, she goes and crawls in dungeons, she finds items, and she also goes to town and buys items off of shop owners to resell at her store. So 80% of the game, you're in your shop reselling items, haggling with customers that come into your shop, and you're trying to get a profit in order to meet deadlines to pay off prices. It doesn't sound like a lot of fun, but believe me, it hooked me quite a bit, and I've invested a couple of hours into this game so far, and I'm really enjoying it. It's for fans of Harvest Moon or any kind of item synthesis or, you know, town management type of game, so I highly recommend it. And lastly, guys, the last game I'm going to talk about really briefly here is the game that's taken up the most time from me recently, and that is a game on the PC called Smite. This is a MOBA, similar to the League of Legends types games. I've never played them before. Smite is my first, but what differentiates this one is it's a third-person game that's sort of zoomed in, more of like an action view. So for those of you that don't know what MOBAs are, it's a mod that originated off of Warcraft 3 on the PC, I think, and it sort of became its own genre, where you play as 5 versus 5, so 5 people versus 5 people in a battle arena, and you just try and level up and kill one another, and it's more of like tower defense, but multiplayer. But the Smite, you play as all these gods from all these different mythologies and stuff, so there's like Zeus, there's Ra, there's Egyptian gods, there's, you know, Greek gods, there's all kinds of gods from all these different parts of the world. Of course, they're mythological, but it's a lot of fun. I've been playing this game non-stop, and it's in beta right now. And I'm just going to say, if any of you want to play this, message me on Facebook with your email address, and if I can and when I can, depending upon how big the response is, I will input your email into the game, and you'll be sent a beta code. So if you want to play, you can, but you can't play with any friends until you're level 6, so just keep that in mind. Well, there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed the first episode of Games I Played recently. And if you enjoyed this video and you like the idea of this and you want to see more, definitely let me know below. Give the video a like. I definitely always appreciate that. And thank you guys always for your support. And I'll see you all soon.